This is part 2, the 86 versus the S2000 platform. And what we've done here is we've neutralized the horsepower advantage that the S2000 has. They both make essentially 212 wheel horsepower on a Dynojet.
That's tough.
It is tough. What car do you think is going to be faster on the track?
One of them Miatas.
Yeah, probably. So we're going to go out there, we're going to find out, what are we going to do out there?
Go play some fag tag.
What car was faster?
This one.
It's got more torque, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, of course, people are going to say the first thing, this isn't really a fair test. So we've tried to neutralize some of the variables as much as possible. Both cars are using the same exact rubber, Hankook RS3s, and both are on track brake pads. Now, since the North track at Autobahn is not demanding on brakes, the big brake kit on the FRS is going to be pretty much a non-issue, as cooling's not going to come into play in short sessions. So this is a Lemons BMW, and Turbowski actually thinks this is one of the best cars ever made. But not only that, you set the Lemons fastest lap of the race on the 24-hour race at Gingerman in this, didn't you? See, the thing is Turbowski has a need for speed. We've been kind of running together for a while, and I would say 9 out of 10 times he's faster than me in karting and other high-performance driving events. Now today, that will give him the advantage, but probably not because he's never been on the North track before. But we're gonna see, we're gonna sort this out and give you the full results. Well, it's pretty clear that the FRS with forced induction is just a lot quicker than the S2000. I don't know if it's just a combination of Scott never being on this track, not really being used to the S2000, but it's gone. And we'll have to switch cars and just see what the difference is between the drivers, if any. So in our fictional world, if this was the car that Subaru and Toyota gave us that had the same horsepower as the S2000, and you could buy it with a factory warranty, and it was this way, which car would you rather have?
That car.
Okay. Now, Since this doesn't exist in reality, what car would you rather have, stock versus stock?
That car.
Why?
Because it's got more power.
But what about like drivability and comfort?
That thing's gonna outlast this any day.
You think so? Why?
This is a Subaru pile, that's a Honda.
Yeah, and here's the kind of like the good point about that. The most interesting part about these two cars, this is a 2005 S2000. This is a 2013 Scion. So you have about a 7-year age gap between the two. And both these cars are identical in value on the used market right now. You could buy both these cars for the
This
same.
one's worth less with all the modifications.
Well, let's just strip all this shit out of here. Stock versus stock, they're both $18,000 on the used market. So if you had your choice on the used market between these two, which would you choose? Why?
Because of the value.
The value? And you think it's really
This is going to be a $5,000 car in 5 years.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with Scott, and especially after working on this thing, we had basically, 2 years, 20,000 miles on it. We just had to do rear wheel bearings in it because we put extended studs, and the rear end was just fucking rusted out. You couldn't even get them out.
I got a fucking piece of metal in my hand because this pile.
And that's the thing, you know, you look at the underneath of this Honda, you look at this car, and it's in much better shape. And being almost 10 years old, it's kind of surprising. I don't think this car is going to retain its value like the S2000 will, and that's actually one of the reasons why I would keep this over this car too. Okay, so we're going to switch here. He's going to drive the FRS. I'm going to drive the S2000 in the next session, but one thing I was extremely surprised with was the differential in lap times between the two cars. What was your lap time in the S2000?
1:18.8.
Okay, and in the FRS, I ran a 1:15.4. That's really about 3 seconds between the two cars, which is a lot bigger than I expected. But that's why we're going to switch cars and just see, is it a driver difference or is it really the FRS with the same amount of horsepower is that much faster than the S2000?
I think this fucker is faster than me, no matter what on this track. And that's about all I gotta say.
I can't tell if I'm holding up this fruitcake or not. I'm gonna let him by. So yeah, the women just left. They watched us drive. I burned my baloney spot up on the track. What's the results?
S2000 slower.
Yes, it is. It doesn't matter who was driving both cars. The end result was the FRS's best time on the north track at Autobahn was 1:15.4. The fastest lap time I was able to achieve in the S2000 balls to the wall was 1:17.4. Now these are with the same tires on both cars, both have track pads, and I was surprised with that result.
Both were loaded with multiple cameras.
Yes, both had about 16 pounds of camera equipment and a lot of sweat in my underwear. But what do you think?
I don't think that was sweat.
What was it?
Butt gravy?
Yeah, it was serious butt gravyville. Yeah, oil pressures are too low. Oil temp is too high, even with the cooler, but I mean, you know, this is not a race car, so. Well, now that the fairy tale's over and we're back down to earth, you realize that the TRD or STI version of this car does not exist, and you have to do all this shit yourself. So like many people have told me, including Turbowski, if you want a track car, you want a race car, you just buy one. And the 86 platform is the farthest thing from that. And this is the real problem with taking a car and trying to make it something it was never designed to be. Adding forced induction on here makes it a lot more exciting, but it also adds a lot more headaches, and it exposes weaknesses in the car that was never really thought out by the engineers to begin with. So most people are going to be looking for some type of verdict, right? And at the end of the day, we packed up the FRS with all the tools and crap that we needed just to fix the car in case it broke. We got in the S2000 for one last session, and me and Turbowski split it up. And no GPS, no cameras, no nothing. And I would say it was the most enjoyable time we had all day. And when we got out of the car, there's one thing we agreed on for once, and that this is the most rewarding car to drive out of both of these. Yes, it may be slower at this point, but this is the car that if you're a driver, you're really going to enjoy more so than the FRS. And the FRS is a great driver's car. It's more balanced than the S2000, but this car is edgy. And you just feel like you're doing a lot more, it's a lot more work, and it's a lot more visceral. But at the end of the day, I still contend this is the better driver's car. The S2000 wins. So just we were looking at the data here, and nobody really cares about the data. The max speed that the FRS achieved was 105.8 miles an hour. The max that the S2000 was able to achieve was... See, if you own both these cars, the 86 becomes the mistress. It's that car that you do stupid shit with that you wouldn't do with other sports cars, or cars like the S2000. What car do you think is going to be faster now that the horsepower is neutralized?
FRS.
Why?
Because I've already seen it.
And what was your lap time? Do you remember in the S2000?
112. 118.8.
Yeah, it was 118.8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I ran a 115.3 or 4 or something like that, but there's a 3.6. Fuck. Here.
Cocksucker fucking asshole.
It's not my fault. We're back for part 2 of the FRS versus 86 platform.
The FRS versus 86.
I thought I blew it up.
Oh, really? I saw you go ahead of Mark.
I went, yeah, as soon as
You were coming around, they were coming in the...
and all of a sudden there was this horrendous, the freaking walkie-talkie was stuck on in there. I couldn't figure out what it is, so I panicked and just went in.
You did the right thing.
Because with the helmet on, I'm like, what the hell is that noise?